Hey there, welcome to Wedding Secrets and Heirloom Photography with Crystal Summerbear Jones, the lead photographer and cinematographer of Summer Bear Weddings. So we are getting in, the last couple ones, obviously the first video was an introduction to a little bit about what we're going to be chatting about. And the second one was talking about guests. And I got a bit personal about how I felt. And the reason I got personal, and some people would disagree with how I went about it, is because that it's really personal and it can be very overwhelming and hard to navigate. And you feel like you're the only one who feels that way. And you feel like you're a bad person if you feel these feelings. And so I am very sick of people telling me what I should and shouldn't say. And so I'm just going to tell you how it is. I'm a very transparent person when it comes to how I feel about certain situations. Obviously, in my professional life, I very much can put on that professional mask and be what I need to be in whatever circumstances I'm in. But I'm talking to you, a couple who is in the midst of trying to plan their wedding, and you are feeling all the feelings, you're feeling all those stresses, and the last thing you need is for some wedding professional to come to you and tell you what you should or should not be feeling or what you should or should not be doing. So I'm going to be sharing my experiences with you, and your experiences are going to be different. I had a high school friend who was getting married at the same time as I was, actually just a couple months after I did, and her wedding planning was seamless. She really didn't have, any stresses about it, but she was more of a let things fly kind of person. So she wasn't trying to like DIY anything or be super creative. She just kind of went with, I want this DJ, I want that caterer, I want this, I want that, and done. I have a degree in interior design. So for me, there was a lot of aesthetic, and, if I had a greater budget, I would have absolutely paid for the professional services to come in and decorate the barn that we used for the bar and our cake cutting area and our lounge area. That's one of those things that it would have been nice if we'd had, but I made it work and it looked really cute and beautiful, and that's all that matters. So that being said, we're going to dive into venues. Now, we planned this wedding, mostly me, in 5 months. I would not recommend that unless you have an abundance of money already saved up. It was very difficult paying for it, because we did pay for almost all of it ourselves. We got a little bit of help, but 90% of it was paid for by us. And that was definitely hard. And it also limited our options, which was both a good thing and a bad thing. It was a good thing because we didn't have to make this decision, because when you are planning a wedding in 2 years, you have way more options to choose from. And it can be a little overwhelming when you have that many options. But at the same time, you can take things slower. So you can literally do one thing at a time, one vendor at a time, which is what most planners will recommend, is do one planner at a time and then break it down even more. And so if you're looking for a photographer, you choose 3 you want to interview and chat with. And then if none of those pan out, you choose the next 3. And you really take it slow. I did not have the luxury to do that, so I took things a little bit faster, but I did still do pretty much one vendor at a time, sometimes 2 at a time, but mostly I did 1 at a time. Who was the most important? I booked my photographer first. That's a very in-depth, probably a series of videos. I'm going to actually be in front of my computer and sharing some of the images I received versus the ones after I finish editing them. So I'm not always going to be sitting here in front of you talking to you. I'm going to be actually on my computer sharing some images from my own wedding and images from couples that I maybe am currently working with, so you can get some ideas, some current fun ideas, and from past couples as well. And of course, I'll be interviewing other wedding professionals as well. And I lost my train of thought, which does sometimes happen, so bear with me. So one of the things that it was important was the photographer, and I I went too much with my heart with that decision and did not look at the technical aspects that I should have. I really just went with my heart because I really love the individual that I chose. He's a really, really good guy. Very artistic and very talented in some aspects, in a lot of aspects. But I didn't realize that there was a whole area that he does not, he is not his strength. And that area ended up really hurting when I got the gallery back. Like I said, that's going to be a whole nother video. But that's who I started with. And that was before I had the venue. And so luckily he was a photographer who basically, he's like, okay, it's going to be this price if it's within this area of where I live, or this price if it's anywhere in California. And that was really helpful because I knew I wanted to secure the date with him, but I didn't know where I was getting married yet. And it was going to be anywhere from Mount Shasta, all the way down to Paso Robles. And so he was very nice about allowing us the space and time to figure that out. So we had a date, we had an approximate guest list. And so that cut out a lot of venues that we otherwise might have looked at. For instance, there's some really cute smaller venues in the area at houses. There's one in Crockett. It's really sweet. There is, there's the Brownstone in Brentwood. That's really nice. And that is a smaller guest list, a smaller area. It's really pretty. And so there's a lot of different places, but we kind of cut some of these out. For one, venues in the Bay Area do tend to be a little bit more expensive than outside of the Bay Area. Two, a lot of them had restrictions. Either they weren't big enough for what I was looking for. I knew I didn't want a golf course. So that would maybe be where you start, is what don't you want? I did not want to get married on a golf course. I did not want to get married at a church. My dad actually married me. That's another story too. Anyway, I knew I didn't want something that was super traditional. I wanted something that was unique. And so that's what I knew I wanted. Now, I have photographed some beautiful church weddings. I have photographed some beautiful golf course weddings. There's nothing wrong with it. It was just my personal preference. So going from there, that left the idea of some wineries or I knew I didn't really want super, heavily barn at rustic style. I wanted more of a garden or vineyard, or something next to water was good as well. Something that was breathtakingly beautiful is really what I was looking for. And so we went and we just searched Google. That's really what we did, because all the venues that I had photographed here in the area were pretty much, I was like, nope, I want something different. I really just wanted something different. It was really what it was. And so we decided I did a lot of research. I reached out to 20 venues, and if they weren't available on my date, they'd say, are you open to getting married on another date? And so that's another option. And actually, I would recommend, if you, instead of being totally wide open about your date, maybe have a month that you would like to get married in. And that will also help with your venues, because there will be some venues that just aren't going to be available that month at all. And we also really wanted a venue where we could do something that was multi-day, because I knew a lot of people were going to be coming in from out of town, and I really wanted the time to be able to spend time with them, because the one thing about a wedding is it goes so fast. So I knew I wanted, the day before and the day after to really get to spend some quality time with family and friends. So we decided to go one weekend. We went up to Sacramento area, and I will actually be doing a written blog post on this, because I took photos of every single venue. And so this is more of going to be a written blog post, which I will probably go and do another video going through the blog post and talking about each venue. But I just kind of want to do an overview. If you are at the place where you don't even know where to start with the guest list, figure out how big of a wedding you're going to have, then start with what you don't want. Adding into what you don't want. If you want something that's all inclusive, like they're going to include the caterer and the drinks, um, then look for wedding venues to do that. If you want a wedding venue that's going to include then also the DJ and the photo booth and a wedding planner or a wedding coordinator and the florist and a photographer and a videographer, I never recommend that because you never know what you're going to get with that. But if you want something that's all done for you, then look for a wedding venue that does that. Or if you want something where you get to choose everything, then look for a wedding venue that does that. So there's three main options with wedding venues. There's all inclusive, there's partially inclusive, and there's fully customizable. And so start with those three and go from there. For us, it had to be fully customizable. That was a must. So that's where we started. And then we went from there to the size. So that cut out some more venues. Were they available on our date? That cut out more venues. Then we decided to start touring them. We went to the first one. And it was quaint. It was cute. Nothing spectacular about it. Nothing to write home about it. It was pretty. But it was just like, I don't know. It just didn't make me feel that thing. You know? It just didn't make me feel that thing. It was pretty. I would love photographing a wedding there. And I think it could really be dressed up to look really beautiful. And there were things I really liked about the venue. But I just didn't feel the thing. And that was really basically it. And then the next weekend was the craziest weekend. So we decided to go to Petaluma and check out this venue in Petaluma, which was really cool. It had a Tuscany-esque feel inside. And, but we really didn't like, it was just very small. And yeah, it would have worked for the 90 guests, but it was just very small. And again, I just didn't really feel the thing with it. Even though it was really nice, it just wasn't my cup of tea. The next place we went was run by a company, and when I write the blog, I'll actually write down the company's name because off the top of my head, I don't remember it. But they own several venues, and that's what I loved, is that they were so professional, easy to work with. They met us at one venue, which was more of a community center type of venue, which was really sweet, but again, a little bit too rustic for my taste. And then we went over to down the road closer to Santa Rosa, and that really was, that was the top of my list for a minute there. The only problem was it was at a vineyard, and we couldn't even start setting up until like 5 o'clock in the afternoon or something like that. That was the big, like, wow, I don't know. And there was not a lot of customization that we could do. In addition, of course, we also had to buy a certain amount of wine from them. But the view was spectacular. The venue was really pretty. I did really like it a lot. Then we decided we really wanted to check out Mount Shasta, and I had found this hotel that was super sweet called McLeod Hotel, and they have weddings there, and it was adorable. Unfortunately, they were booked for another event, so we couldn't actually book any of the rooms at the hotel, but we could use the venue, and we could use next door the reception area. And ended up being between that venue and the venue we chose. One of the reasons we didn't choose that venue was because it was going to be August when we were worried about fires. So then after that, we literally drove from Shasta all the way down to Paso Robles, and we stayed the night down there. And we checked out this really cute called, they named it after their daughter, like Ella Vineyards, I think it was. And it was sweet again. There was a tree that you got married under, and it was really pretty. And they had a house that you could stay at as well, which I really loved. So you would stay the night there. And then the reception area. However, at the time we were thinking there would be about 120 people, and it really only comfortably held about 70 to 80. So we didn't realize that. So that was my mistake. We didn't realize that when we went to look at it, that actually was really meant for much more intimate wedding. Then we went to, I remember the name of this one. It was like Casa Vineyards. Oh my gosh. So cool. If you want the luxury experience, this is it. It's incredible. And it's all climate controlled, so you can open up everything if it's a nice day, or you can close everything and turn the air conditioner on. and it's incredible. And they also, you get married over by the tree in the middle of a vineyard, and they have these really cool stainless steel, like the truck beds. That's what they're made out of. I totally at the top of can't remember it off the top of my head, but it was just really cool, and they had all these like rooms that you could stay in as well. And they had like horse riding options and archery options. We got the price from that. We were like, and no, that's way over budget. But oh my goodness, it's an incredible venue. Then the last venue we went to was Bella Terra Vineyards. And when we went up the road and I walked up to the gates and I walked in, I was all smiles. And I was like, this is it. This is the venue. Oh my gosh, this is it. This is it. I still had to convince my husband. Aaron is his name. But I mean, it was just, we went back there a second time with with his mom. And it was, I still like, I love this venue, and they were so amazing to work with. I mean, I can't rave about them enough. It was like a semi-destination. And so I just felt that thing, and you can see how my face lights up. And really, you want to have that feeling about the place you choose to have your wedding, because you're investing a lot of your time and money and resources into this. So hopefully this helps you go through it. I don't want to make this video too long because I am going to go into detail about the venues that I toured and the photos from them. And I'm also going to do a longer blog post also that includes other venues in the area. One venue that we were thinking about going with was the observatory in Oakland, where, you know, they look at the stars and everything. That actually I said no to right away because the person who was in charge of the events coordination was really unprofessional, and I absolutely could not believe how she spoke to me, knowing that I'm also a wedding professional. So I wouldn't recommend that just if she's still there, because I've never met anybody more unprofessional. I just still can't believe she spoke to me the way she did. And also, it was a cool venue, but it was really easy to get lost in. And if you have anybody handicapped, that also makes it a little tough too. But it was a cool idea because we were going to do because our theme was Milky Way Galaxy. And I am such a Trekkie. I love Star Trek. So it was going to be so cool for me to get married there. But it didn't work out, and that's okay. And they were a little bit more expensive. And they also had really tight time constraints too. And then on top of the unprofessionalism, it's clear that she's one of those people that they might have a revolving door. I don't think that she's necessarily there now. It's only been a year since I talked to her, but maybe other people have better experiences. But it was she getting into the nitty gritty, and this is going to be a big red flag. I got pricing guide off of her website, and then that had one set of prices. And then when we went to their open fair, we got a packet that had totally different set of prices. And the difference was like $2,000 more for each package. And when I asked her about it, she basically said I was lying and blamed me, and where was it on the website, and I needed to go find it. And I was like, no, it's not on me. I sent you the PDF. She's like, well, you can clearly see the name of this PDF says 2023 or something like that. And I was like, yeah, I downloaded it on my phone. I don't always see what the name of the file is, and it's not my job to look. If you have it out in the public, then you kind of have to honor it. I said it a lot nicer than that, but that's kind of how that happened. And that's a red flag. And I'll be talking about some red flags you want to look out for with venues. If somebody is fighting you, and again, I was very nice about it. I just was like, hey, just as an FYI, I didn't even ask her to honor the prices at all. I just was like giving her an FYI, hey, this is what we found online prior to going to your open house. And this was open house. And her response was so defensive. And if you ever come across anybody who their initial reaction is being defensive, run as far as you can. And then surprisingly the next day they're like, oh, we're not available anymore. And I was like, yeah, I wasn't gonna go with your venue anyway because of how you acted. So it didn't work out, and that's okay. And you need to be okay with that. If anybody's ever super defensive with one of the questions you ask, as long as you're asking it in a respectful manner, run, because you don't want to have to deal with that. And actually, it's funny, they tell vendors that too. If you don't get a good feeling about a couple, then they're not the right couple for you. And that's one of the things where if I don't feel like a couple is right for me, I will let them know that, hey, I don't think I would be the right fit for your needs. Either my style isn't right or how I talk isn't right. But that's one of the reasons I'm also doing these videos, is so that you can kind of get to know me and how I talk and how I am before you even hire me or get to know me. And also I want to be able to teach and help others through this process of wedding planning, because it can be so daunting and you have no idea going into it mostly how much things cost. So to be transparent, our venue for 3 days 2 nights was $9,500. It was a steal. Usually it is for one night, 2 days 1 night, because what's included in the price is a little bridal suite, and it's $9,500 usually for just 1 night. So you get there, you do the rehearsal. You can do the rehearsal dinner there usually, as long as you're respectful and keep everything clean. As long as there's no caterers, if you're just like doing we just had food brought. It was catered, but we just brought the food in. And then the wedding. However, we decided they actually gave us a discount because it was a really slow year and they were just getting started, and I was getting married on a Friday. And so we actually then upgraded to their big 5,000 square foot mansion that kind of sits on the hill a little bit, just a little up the hill from the venue. Walkable distance, and so that was $2,000 for 2 nights. And so because we did that, that's why we were able to do what we were able to do in our venue. But that being said, $9,500, the other venues we were looking at were $9,500 starting for 5 hours, which is very typical in the Bay Area. So if you're wanting something a little bit more custom, look outside of the Bay Area. Also look at newer venues, because they often will give you discounts. So this venue had been around a long time, but had changed hands. So they were rebranding. And again, love Bella Terra Vineyards, would be happy to, if you want to check that. If you are open to possibly doing a semi-destination wedding, I highly recommend Bella Terra Vineyards. They're incredible. Anyway, I am done for this video. Again, I could keep talking about this for hours, and then some of you guys, if I met you at the wedding fair, a lot of you guys listening to this for the first time are going to be from the wedding fair. I did talk your ear off a little bit about this. So if you have a specific topic you are looking for that you want me to cover, go ahead and leave it in the comments below. Make sure you like and subscribe, because it really does help. And the next video, I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to be talking about yet, but I have a list. I'm trying to go in order of what's most important. So I might be diving into the photography aspect, but I won't go too nitty-gritty into my whole experience, because I definitely want to do that in front of the computer at some point, so I can kind of show you what not to do with what my photographer, and also some examples of other photographers out there that are newer. Also my own work. I'm going to be showing you what I looked like when I first started and when I charged nearly nothing versus what I look like now. So actually that's going to be a really good, so you can see the difference. So, but the next time I think I'm just going to be chatting about some basic questions you want to be asking your photographer, and some mistakes to avoid that I made because I felt like I knew my photographer so well. That I didn't need to, because I even second shot for him. So I figured I'm good. I don't need, that was my mistake. So I'll be chatting more about that. I think that's the next video theme I'm going to be going with, because I want to go in line from like what your needs is: guest list, venue, photographer, videographer, caterer, probably right after that, DJ. And then we're going to get into the nitty gritty of wedding planners month of wedding coordinator and day of wedding coordinator. I'm going to fit that in there because that's also really important. Must have. And yeah, that's a whole topic. And I'm definitely going to be bringing a wedding planner in on one of these videos here pretty soon. I've gotten to meet quite a few of them. Looking back, I do kind of wish that I had gone with somebody local versus somebody who, the person I hired, she was based out of Texas actually. But I'd known her for many years, but local is usually better. But I did love her, and I wish that she had actually been able to show up because I know my wedding would have gone off without a hitch because she is super attention to detail. So, but it happens. And you know what? My wedding is still being talked about by my guests. So that's all you can ask for, right? And I hope my wish is for that to be you as well. All right. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.